Hello one and all to an average shaman video. It has been a while, so I do apologise, but life's just been getting in the way recently, and I didn't really want to make a guide until I have done significant testing and I got to the 2K RIO, because that just gives me a breath of experience to talk about you guys in order to get it and to push past it. So yeah, as the title says, it is a Enhancement Shaman Mythic Plus Basic Guide. What that means is that I'm not going to go too much into detail on everything, because I'm going to do some videos that then kind of hone into whatever questions you have or stuff that crops up. The main thing you've got to know is as of recording this now, it is. It's fortified week, so you should be heavily going into your fire build. Now, I do realise that whilst recording this, my face is in the way of this, but this is basically the Elementalist Enhancement Shaman build. Like, you can find it on Wowhead, Icy Veins, and whatnot, but I do have my builds in the descriptions below, so you can just carbon copy, because I do slightly change some things, but more so on the left tree rather than the right tree. So yeah, right, so you're going to take full effect of this being a fortified week, because adds are up more, so you've got to be concentrating more on add damage rather than boss damage. But if you was to say, well, I like running a more boss focused build, that's absolutely fine. Like, if you play with a group of guys and girls and peoples and theys and thems that are really pumping in AoE, then that's fine. If you want to do that, then that you're just using your big person brain and, you know, going with what your group's missing. But if you're like me and you pug most of it, you will stick to the Elementalist build. Elementalist build is, as says, that's pretty much, look at the descriptions below, or i.e. Icy Veins or Wowhead. Pretty much enough said there. We're going to go into stats. And for stats with both boss damage and Elementalist build, you're going to go Haste Mastery. You're going to go Haste Mastery pretty much no matter what you do. Maybe if you are going the physical build, you can get a bit more crit or versatility, but even still, the Mastery is going to be pretty king. So pretty much anything that gives you Haste Mastery is a winner. Your rings and that have got to be Enchanted Mastery. They're pretty cheap now. Any gems, Haste Mastery. Don't copy my Lariat though, because it's semi-wrong. That I should have, because I've got 3 Mastery Haste gems, which I should have an Agility and Mastery gem in, which I'm gonna take the plunge in and get crafted today, or buy it off the auction house. So yeah, apart from that, anything Haste Mastery. You want to get a hold of an Alga Forest puzzle box. It's fucking incredible. And you want to get a hold of a Storm Eater's boon. Pretty much the Storm Eater's boon is king in regards to AoE damage, because once you've popped it, it's a 3-minute cooldown. You guys, depending on your keys, you will have to pick and choose when to use it, but know that you can't move. But it deals nature damage, and what do we do to nature damage? We fucking increase it. And yes, it does go off the trinket. So you'll bump up that damage, and it's very, very sexy. I think in a given dungeon, it's about it can do up to about 4 to 6 million damage, depending on when I proc it and if it's procced good. Like, sometimes the tank will move them outside of it, and then you just like face palm in the floor. But it's one of them. But a well-timed use or a knowledgeable use of it will get you the best results, and it's fucking incredible. Apart from that, I usually pop Alga Forest puzzle box, usually when I'm about to do a boss or like a semi-big pull, because it puts your mastery up, and mastery is king. So that covers the stats. That is it. Like, I mean, the stat priorities: agility, mastery, to haste, crit, then verse. As I said, depending on if you're the physical build, maybe the crit verse switches up, but that's pretty much it. In terms of rotation, no, we're going to go on gear. Well, I've already covered it, so haste mastery, that's the gear bit done. And now we are going to talk about rotation, as I said. Now, this is a semi-tricky one, because as you talk about rotation, you've got to talk about priority lists. Like, if an enhancement shaman is priority list. It's a priority list rotation. You can't be like, oh, this is your bog standard rotation every single fucking time, because it's just like, no. If your elementalist build, you want to prior your lava lashes over your storm strikes every time, because you're going to be doing more fucking damage. So if someone's like me going, oh yeah, well, I saw hot hands proc, but I didn't click it, I'm like, well, you're a fucking idiot then, aren't you, mate? Like, click your lava lashes, and vice versa. If you're on a physical build, click your storm strikes over your lava lashes once you've spread the flame shocks, and you can use it to keep it up, but the more storm strikes you do in a physical build, the more damage you do, and vice versa with the lava lash and the elementalist build. So there is a priority list. And what I mean by that is, on pull, you always want to click your wolves. Click them doggies. Because you are the build, you should be down here. Like, it comes off cooldown super quickly. So wolves on CD and pull. Even if there's two fucking mobs and you're thinking, well, I don't really want to waste a 1.5 minute cooldown. It's not a 1.5 minute cooldown. On a good Maelstrom generation, it's about 30 to 40 seconds. So click your bloody wolves. So I'm going to do this very slowly. This is an opener, right? So I'm going to click this. This is a cleave. I'm not going to click my trinkets, but I will at the end to show you how much damage they can do. You will pop your wolves. You'll pop your racial. You will flame shock. You will lava lash. You see that it's spread out there. You can tab target if you want to, but that's up to you. But with you want to be going crash lightning. You get 10 maelstrom. You do that. Then you can fire nova. Again, you're just generating to get it. Now you're probably thinking, but why wouldn't you use primordial wave? I prefer to use it the second time round, because the first time round, you want to get it to spread as much time. So if there was two more adds here, they wouldn't get flame shock. So like, I think, that it just helps it. So the second rotation, what I'll be doing is I'll just get rid of the maelstrom. Then I will use primordial wave, then lightning bolt, just to get it. And then you can see that. And then what you want to do is, when you use Sundering on CD, guys, you want to line it up as best as you can to hit as many things as you can. You don't want to be wasting it and just like hitting 2 to 3 when you can hit. Wolves off cooldown, you will use it. Again, as I said, this is a very slowed down rotation, so it's not perfect. So I'll let my wolves while I talk for it. So opener is your wolves, your flame shock, your lava lash. Get a crash lightning out there. Generate 10 maelstrom, then chain lightning, then primordial wave, lava lash just in case you're missing one, or you can put another dot on one, but it can only go up to 6. Then lightning bolt, and then you just churn and repeat. Then churn and repeat. Lob some fire novas on CD. Use lava lash when it procs. Line up your sundering to use, and then that is it. That is your AoE rotation. Now, if you're like me, you've got Ellie Blast as well, and you're probably thinking, when would you use Ellie Blast? You lob 1 or 2 in. You make sure you've always got 1 charge. So, in like the first one, you could do it if you want. This is totally, like, it's up to you, really. It's really up to you. You can't say, yeah, you've got to do this because it's this, this, and this. To be honest, the numbers, if you didn't use Ellie Blast, are quite small, but the Ellie Blast does give you a stack of crit, haste, or verse, so it's really, or mastery, sorry, so it's really nice to get in. What I usually do is I'll make sure I lob it on a focus target. If there's a target in this ad, because in every ad pack on a fortified week, there is one ad that's a knobhead and you've got to kill them. So lob a funnel damage into that Ellie Blast. Make sure you keep the buff that it gives you. I mean, it only lasts like 10 seconds, but that's enough to get it, and that's enough generally to get out a full maybe 1 to 2 of your rotation. Like, literally, your rotation is that fast paced. So do that. Just make sure you have one proc, 1 stack, sorry, because there's 2 stacks. So make sure you've got 1, and you'll be absolutely fine with that. And then you go into the chain lightning. What I will say is, once I load up the right one, is that it? No, is that it? No, is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. Once you've done it right, you rotate. You'll know your rotation is correct. One, when Flame Shock is near the top, because the more ads you tab target, the more damage your Flame Shock does. The more damage your Flame Shock does, the more damage you do. Lightning Bolt should be, if it's a long fight, Lightning Bolt should be up here because it should be hitting, even though it's one cast, it should be hitting 6 targets at all time. If there's not 6 up and there's 5 up, it should be hitting all them 5 targets. So you should never be like going Primordial Wave then straight into a Lightning Bolt if you're only hitting one ad, because obviously you get hit, you get a shitload of haste for each enemy you hit. And you will be gimping your DPS. So kind of use your big boy brain. Spread it before you tap it. And Chain Lightning should be high as well because it's your main spell that you use, or Maelstrom Spender. That Chain Lightning should be usually high. Usually in a given run, I've got Flame Shock, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Lava Lash is really whacked up here, especially if you get into some good proc windows. It's really high. And Sundering again, you should be hitting as many targets as you can. The more you hit, the better. But in a given dungeon or a pack, that's usually about 6 or something high, because Crash Lightning usually ticks up a bit. Apart from that, they're all just weapon procs and Primordial Waves. Yeah. So yeah, that's when you know you've done it right. Like. You can, like, Frost Shock is a filler, and so is Flame Shock once you've spread it. So if you're out of buttons to press, click Frost Shock and Flame Shock. Frost Shock taking priority over the Flame Shock, and Flame Shock you only use if you need to essentially put the Flame Shock on something before you spread it. So yeah, that is about it on the rotation as well. You'll do this in bosses as well. But obviously Fire Nova and Crash Lightning doesn't really have much synergy with bosses because they're mainly AoE abilities, so they gain a lot of value off 6 targets. So yeah, but you can use it. Like Fire Nova will generate you 1 Maelstrom even on a boss, so it is worth clicking because it generates you quick Maelstrom and stuff like that. But in terms of the physical build, which people will usually run in the Mythic plus physical build, people usually run the physical build in Tyrannical Weeks because your damage ceiling is a lot higher than the Elementalist build. It is a lot higher numerically. However, its RNG is shit. Now, I've had dungeons where my RNG has been really, really good, and I've cleared like 60 to 70k damage on a full dungeon. I've been absolutely popping off on bosses. I've been like top damage on bosses. And then I've done dungeons where it's actually been dog shit, and I've done about like 45k overall, and my boss damage is it's okay. And you know, it's one of them. You run a risk, but I think it's worth. It. And people think like the physical build is shit in AoE. It's not. It's really fucking powerful in AoE. It's ridiculously powerful in AoE. The only thing is, again, it is RNG. And what I mean by that is that you should be running deeply rooted elements. Like some guides set here, run Ascendance. But I don't like the 3-minute cooldown. I hate the 3-minute cooldown. If there's people out there that love that 3-minute cooldown, that, yeah, I know if I use it here, I'll have it ready for the boss, that's fine. You'll be bursting like a mother on the first 20 seconds of that boss. But then afterwards, your damage is going to be reasonable, but then you've got to wait another 3 minutes. And if you've waited another 3 minutes on that boss, then some bosses, depending on the level of the key as well, then maybe you guys don't have the damage to actually kill that boss, or it's going to be a long fucking slog. It totally depends on what level. Like, you know, if you're doing a 10 and the boss is still up after 3 minutes, it's a bit like, you know, like some bosses as well in some dungeons is like, but mostly bosses are downed after 2 minutes, 1 minute odd, you know, like maybe just slightly under 3 depending on the group cohesion, cooldowns and bloodlust and whatnot, but yeah, there's leeway in this one. Like that's my main point. But you should be running deeply rooted elements. I love it, and you should be running this. Again, these builds are in the description. And you play off your Doom Winds, which is a 1.5 minute cooldown. Now, the opener to this is rather is rather the same, right? So you'll start with a flame shock, you'll spread it with a lava lash, you will crash lightning, and then you'll just start churning it out. Now this is a bog standard rotation right here, and then usually what I'll do is, no, you know what? I tell a lie, I tell an absolute fucking lie. Forget everything that just happened then. Right. So what you'll do is wolves, flame shock, lava lash. You will then go into your doom winds, and then you will sunder. And then you will start churning out your normal DPS. Never overcap. It's very easy to overcap on this one. That's what you don't want to do. And you can see that it's just stupidly easy for me to get Maelstrom. And now your main spenders of this Maelstrom is again Chain Lightning. And I'm going to stop there. And then once you've done Chain Lightning, because you have Hailstorm and whatnot, you will automatically lob out a Hailstorm. And that'll do like really, really good fucking damage. So, Wolves, Flame Shock, Lava Lash, Storm, Crash Lightning, then go... No, not Crash Lightning, sorry. Then lob your Doom Winds Totem down, Crash Lightning, then go into Sundering with a lined up, and then you will go into your normal rotation where you spam the shit out of Storm Strikes, generate Maelstrom, spend it on Chain Lightning, and then going in directly into the Frost Shocks. That is it. That is generally it. Now, the only thing that I said before is that Enhancement Shamans, they have prio lists. And with this build, if you get Storm Strike procs, forsake everything. Maybe not your Sundering and your Doom Winds. If you've got Doom Winds, drop it quickly, then go into the Storm Strikes, whilst maintaining Crash Lightning, and then Sundering, line it up to the best of your ability. But basically, if you've got a Hot Hands proc and you've got a Storm Strike proc, go for the Storm Strike proc. Only use the Lava Lash proc when your Flame Shock is about to expire. Apart from that, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Storm Strike, Storm. You get the point. Keep spamming that button, because with deeply rooted elements, every Storm Strike you do, you've got 7% chance to proc an Ascendance. And when Ascendance procs, it does a shitload of AoE damage as a burst, and then you turn your abilities into enhanced abilities. So your Storm Strike becomes Wind Lash, and it's like a semi-range. So even if the boss is fucking moving, you can still be like going, haha, I'm still fucking hitting you. That's me clicking the E button. So I'll be like this, going, you know, tunnel vision, clicking that E button like a junkie that wants his fix on fucking heroin. Yeah. And then that's about it. Like, you can try and link up your Doom Winds windows as best as you can with your Ascendance procs through deeply rooted elements. But it is very difficult, and it does require some RNG. Maybe it does require you to sit on your Doom Winds cooldown for a little bit, which I can do, but I tend to judge it. Judge it on the situation you're in, judge it on whatever. Like, if you're sitting on, like, you know, your Doom Winds and the boss is at 30%, you know, maybe sitting on that big cooldown throughout that boss is a big no-no. But go with your gut, go with your instincts. If you want to, I usually click it anyway at the start of the boss. Hell be damned of a deeply rooted proc. But then sometimes my Doom Winds will come off cooldown, and then I'll get an Ascendance proc, and I'm thinking, shit, right, Doom Winds straight away, because you get more benefit out of it. Now, for the damage, it is pretty good. And what you can see is, what is it? Is that? No, that's not number one. I'm going to bring it up. Yeah. Right, what should happen in your AoE, you know you're doing the physical build right when Chain Lightning and Wind Fury is your top damage dealer. Flame Shock should still do a lot, but it shouldn't do as much as your Ellie build does, because you're still spreading it to every 6 targets. So it's passive damage that Flame Shock, Lava Lash, it's spread, done. But Chain Lightning is your big spender, and this is now, that just procs anyway. Your Doom Winds can up this damage, but it's part of a talent, so you don't even notice that it's proccing half of the time. It's just dealing a shitload of damage. Crash lightning should be high, and sundering should be quite high as well, because you ideally you want to get the most out of sundering, especially link up sundering and your doom winds as much as possible, because doom winds procs sundering procs your doom winds. So if your doom winds is about to come off cooldown and you've got like 5 seconds left and you sunder before that comes off cooldown, you've gimped your DPS a little bit. Not a lot, so it's not that punishing, right? What I'm saying is it's not that punishing, but you've gimped it a little bit. So kind of line them up as best as you can. Same with wolves and doomwinds, especially when you're running alpha wolf, because then your wolves do physical damage and physical damage triggers it. So try and link up most of your abilities around doomwinds, but then proc them when they're on cooldown as well. Say if there's like 30 seconds left and you've got one of them, then you might as well use a sundering, because you've only got to wait 10 minutes to line these bad boys back up. You know, judgment call it, but these are just a bit of rotation, guys. But apart from that, that's the rotation. That is generally the rotation of the two builds in N+. Like there's some, tips and tricks which I'm going to go into in a minute, but that's about it. But what I'll do, I'm going to proc my I'm going to go back into the Elementalist build that I had, and then I'm going to show you my trinket, because on my physical build I don't use that trinket. I use a more haste trinket because it slightly sims better. But this is bog standard. I've clicked it. I'm just going to hit. Like, we're not worried about how much damage my abilities are doing. We're just going to look on how much damage that the trinket does on itself. Right, so that's finished. I'm going to click that. Nearly 1 million damage that trinket did on its own. Now, as I said, you can increase this slightly, but that is a ridiculous amount of fucking damage. So if you can get hold of one of them, like doing nearly 1 million damage every 3 minutes by clicking a button and proccing your trinket, is fucking incredibly crazy. And as you can see, you can still deal damage. So once this is procced, you still do your normal rotation as it is. Like whatever it is, if your physical build or if your elementalist build, you will still do your normal rotation. You will follow it. The only thing you can't do is move out of shit. So really, really be careful on where you put it. Like if you know like the boss ability is going to do something and you've got to move out of it, or you can't be hit by it, then don't do it. And it's vice versa with ads. Just don't do it, because you will die. Or at least if you're on comms, maybe you're in a Discord server and you know the healer, just be like, right, I'm proccing my trinket, give me a bit of extra love so I can survive a certain mechanic. But a lot of mechanics, the higher up you go, they're just one shots. So really, really be careful on how you use it. Apart from that, the tips and tricks section is generally use your fucking stuns. Like, the amount of times I have been in a dungeon and I've seen enhancement shamans or shamans in general not use the fucking capacitor totem or the stuns or the thunder, whatever it's fucking called, the thunderstorm ability where it knocks them up. I just can't help but get really fucking angry, because we are ridiculously overpowered when it comes to CCs and stuns and interrupts. We've still got the fastest interrupt on the game. I think it comes off like cooldown like every 12 seconds off top of my head. I'm just going to look, like 12 seconds it comes off cooldown. So it's lovely. We've got our capacitor totem, which is, boom, everything stunned. You come here, boom, everything stunned again. And then to top it off, we've got fucking Sunder in that stuns. We have got stuns coming out of our asses. If you are not the top CC'er at the end of a Mythic Plus, you have not been doing it right. And you have made it more difficult. You have made that dungeon more difficult than it needs to be, especially on ad week, guys. Get your stuns out, get your totems out. You've got your slow totems. So when there's like, especially this week, you've got the spirits. If you've got a good tank that is like, stacked everything and then you're moving away, lob a totem down to slow all them spirits down so that they're not kicking the shit out of everything, or that you're not having to go over like it whichever way to fucking avoid dying. Use your totems to help people out. Your healing tide totem should be put down every fucking cooldown. Never have that puppy sitting there. It's a lot of healing. It is a ridiculous amount of healing. especially if you look at towards the end of a dungeon, you'll be surprised how much healing that has done. And even this as well. Like, you've got your ancestral guidance. Every 2 minutes, all your damage, or 25% of your damage, sorry, goes to healing. If you know there's a big ability coming up that's going to do a shitload of damage, pop on your astral shift, use your ancestral guidance, put down your healing totem, and the healer will be fucking ass licking you, because they're like, oh, that shaman is doing, like, within the space of like fucking 10 seconds, a ridiculous amount of burst healing. He's healed every fucker around him, and all I have to do is just top people up. I am telling you guys, use your totems, use your healing cooldowns to benefit the raid, and they will love you for it. Not the raid, sorry, the dungeon, or even the raid. Yeah, use it in the raid as well, and people will love you. This goes as well for your Earth Elemental Tome. If the tank is getting an absolute kicking and he's about to die, or if you just want a bit more health and you know a shaman's about to use that fucking health share Spirit Link totem, pop your fucking Earth Elemental. Everybody else gets the health boost because you share the health. Again, they will love you for it. Apart from that, that's about it. Go in well fed, use a flask, Glacial Fury, or on Tyrannical Weeks, Elemental Chaos. I think is the raiding ones, but for single target it's really good. So on Tyrannical Weeks, that's the one I usually take, and you can see the difference. Apart from that, I think I've covered everything in tips and tricks. Like, most of it is just getting your timings right on your totem drops. You can do mouse over macros and stuff like that. That's what I've got. And purge anything that needs to be purged. This is one that I didn't cover earlier. If something can be purged, purge it. You know, you will help your group, especially if it's like you know, like it's a fuck off shield, or it reduces magical damage on them, or if you're on the boss, the second boss of Knockwood, and he's like massive fucking cloud shit, and there's something that you can purge off the boss, purge off the fucking boss. You will help your group, and you will prevent a wipe. And that's about it. So this is the extra. In terms of Enhancement Shamans, we are fucking popping off. We are semi-meta for Mythic Plus, and we are kind of, well, as far as I know, we are meta for the raid. So we are in a very good fucking position. I'm slightly annoyed because more people are starting to play Enhancement Shaman, and you're probably thinking, well, why are you annoyed about that? I am glad people are playing Enhancement Shaman, but because it's a bit of a flavour of the month, everyone's like, yeah, and my logs aren't looking so great because of it. So, whereas last season and last expansion in Mythic Plus, I was getting like 99 parses, and I was like, yeah, I'm a beast. Whereas now in a dungeon, I'm like, oh, I've only got 90 parses. Like, fucking hell, I'm competing with like 15,000 more players all of a sudden. So there is that. I am working on logs. But anyway, guys, that's everything that could be said. It is a rather long video, just shy of 30 minutes, so I do apologise for that. Hopefully you guys do like it, and hopefully you did find it useful. Like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help, especially to my YouTube channel, and I do stream on Twitch. Even though I've not been streaming for a while, I am gonna start. I'm gonna start doing it again. You know, so that'll be that. Again, well, I will appreciate a subscribe and a cheeky follow on that as well. Apart from that, guys, thank you all and one and all. I appreciate you being Enhancement Shaman, because we are the fucking best. Apart from that, guys, thank you and good night.